What's up?
Well,
Welcome. Oh, look at the lemon. What was that, Andy?
I
Some
don't
was that like
know.
an errant Chiron?
It was the
Some
wrong color, the wrong everything.
the wrong. Wait a minute. Don't be racist with the
There we go.
Chirons. Uh, it's so weird that we say that. Hi, everybody. Now that we've said that, that's an old TV term, right? Chiron, which was the
Yeah,
words on the bottom.
it's the
An
brand.
electronically generated caption superimposed on a television or movie screen. But that's the brand. And what do you call that? Some people call it Chiron, but it's Chiron. What do you call it when like it becomes like Kleenex when it's really a see, I can't even think it's not a paper towel, but it's a tissue, and it becomes a Kleenex. Or are you going to Xerox that, which is a copier? There's a name for that. I can't remember right now because it's been a long day. Um, so welcome everyone to the Don Lemon Show. Just the Don Lemon Show sounds like what it is, and all independent shows, every show like this should be called, "Hey, what's on the Don Lemon Show today?" Even though it's somebody else's show. I want to become synonymous with that. I don't know what the hell am I talking about. But anyways, welcome everybody to the Don Lemon Show, Lemon Live at 5. Where are you? Lemon Army. I love it. Hoover the carpet. Come on. It is branding a product, but there is a name for it. So when someone says, give me a Coke, they don't necessarily want a Coca-Cola. They want a drink sometimes. And so are you going to Windex that window? And it's like, no, I'm going to clean it with some cleanser, but Windex is a brand name. Yeah. So hello, Rochester. Hello, Los Angeles. Hello, Minneapolis. Hello, Houston, Delaware, Maryland. I like shouting you guys out. St. Louis. My chair's a little high. St. Louis, Harlem, New York, Ottawa is here as well. So Selma, North Carolina. Sacramento. Okay. Oh, Stuttgart is here. Stuttgart is here every day. Hello, and Alberta, Canada. Alberta was a clue on my New York Times crossword puzzle the other day about a province or which I think it was like which one is close, somewhere close to the United States or on the border. I forget what it is, but it was Ottawa. And so, yeah, it just made me think about that. Okay, welcome everyone. First order of business, hit the like, hit the thumbs up, because more people become aware of our channel here on the Don Lemon Show, on the Don Lemon channel, and the conversation, and we need that. And so thank you. And that's how we've been able to grow, is because you guys do it. You hit that thumbs up. Nigeria is in the house. Holy schmoly. Vancouver's here. Nova Scotia is here. So someone's in the 305. What up, 305? Hello, Detroit. Okay, tuning in from snowy South Jersey. So yes, I don't think it is anymore. Nikki, is it snow? It was snowing where you were. We got a little snow here. It was more like it wasn't even a dusting. It's
Yeah,
kind
I'm
of
just getting
gone.
flurries.
You still, and let me look. Hold on. It's not much. But hey, we like it. We like it, and I hope you like the. Someone said, "I love that hoodie." Thank you, and thank you, Robin Allen. Because of Robin's generosity, 5 people get to become members of the Lemon Nation. Thank you, and welcome to the Lemon Nation. Rocky Styles, 76. The snow is just wild today in the DC area, and the Lemon Nation congregation is worldwide. Says Dennis B. Put that up, Dennis B. The super chat. Thank you. Philadelphia, rain and snow. But we love it, Dennis B. The Lemon Nation congregation is worldwide. The doors, Orlando, of the church are open right now of the Lemon Nation congregation. So let's go. I am, I'm in a good spirits, but also of deep concern today. Deep concern right now. Because we have been warning, for days now. The United States has only caused someone extreme to be installed as a supreme leader of Iran. So now you've got the new Ayatollah, the new head person in charge, the new leader, who is the old guy's son, the one who was killed. That man is Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the previous supreme leader, or some people say Khomeini, that was back in the day. That's how they pronounce it. But then as time went on, we know it's Khamenei or Khamenei. But some people say the Ayatollah Khomeini, right? That was the American way of saying it. But that was, years ago. But now it's Khamenei. So the supreme leader is who was killed in the strikes. The previous supreme leader who was killed in the strikes, that's his son. But Mojtaba didn't just lose his dad. According to the reports, he lost his son and he lost his wife. He lost his daughter and he lost his wife. So no, he is not going to talk restrained. He finally had his first remarks today. His public remarks, he said, "We will not forego avenging the blood of the martyrs. Even every citizen killed by the enemy is a case for vengeance in itself." That's what he said. This man is out for revenge and he's out for punishment. So despite warnings from the United States, Iran says that it's going to continue striking U.S. military bases in the region. And it has doubled down on halting all movement through the Strait of Hormuz. The goal appears simple. It's a very simple one. It's actually quite a smart one. Look, use what you got. They want to inflict as much economic pain on the world as possible. So they have been planning this for years. So you attack them, they attack everyone. That's the strategy. And they've been planning this for decades. I don't know if Donald Trump realized that. I'm no foreign policy expert, but I know this is something, maybe they don't want it, but they're ready for it. And they're probably saying, come on, bring on the ground troops, because they've got the definite upper hand in that region. Now, interestingly, those remarks were not delivered by the supreme leader himself. They were read by a news anchor on Iranian state television, and officials have not explained why. It is believed that he may have been injured in this, and we don't know the severity of his injuries. But there's no proof of life. But this message was unmistakable. As published in the Associated Press, there have been strikes on 19 civilian vessels so far. And I don't know if we have any of the burning, Andy, of the video of what's going on there and the chaos. Iran has not limited those attacks to ships connected to the United States. In other words, this is warfare. Of course, I know that some in the administration, no, it's not warfare. And then, in the next breath, they say it's war. And then when you question them on it, it's not war. So in other words, this is economic warfare. And we've already talked about what that means for gas prices. Nearly 20% of the world's oil supply normally moves through the Strait of Hormuz. If that choke point closes, energy prices spike almost immediately. But that's just the beginning. An entire web of other products travel through the Strait of Hormuz as well. Okay, so it's not just oil. Remember, this is going to be akin, but a lot fierier, with a lot more bluster around it. It's going to be akin to the supply chain issues that we had during COVID, where you could hardly get anything, and everything was at a premium. So it's not just oil that goes through there. Let's start with food, goes through there. Fertilizer shipments pass through the strait, and prices are already jumping. One Iowa farmer told reporters the cost of his fertilizer has risen by 77%. Let's read what Derek Thompson is saying here. Derek Thompson reported this: "The Iran war could trigger a global economic crisis, and you won't find a better summary of why than this one sentence from Rachel Zemba below." Okay, look at this. Yes, this is about gas prices, but it's also about the cost of food. Fertilizer inputs are stuck. The cost of computer chips, LNG and helium, are stuck. The cost of green energy, sulfuric acid, produced by refineries, is used to extract copper, which is used to make EVs, transformers, etc. Stuck. The cost of moving anything anywhere, jet and container fuel. We've snapped the thin ACL of the global economy with no clear plan to surgically repair it. let's go down a little bit because I think it's important to point this out. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow strip of water between the United Arab Emirates and Iran. Through this, more than 20% of the global oil transits, 20% of the seaborne liquefied natural gas, 30% of the seaborne fertilizer, and a growing amount of global container traffic. Donald Trump done effed around and found out. That increase of all that doesn't stay on the farm, or the fertilizer increase, it doesn't stay on the farm. It shows up later. That's going to show up in your grocery store. Technology is taking a hit. Technology, right? One of the sectors that's really keeping our economy afloat. Helium, a critical element used in computer chips, largely exported through the Gulf. Roughly 20% of the global supply moves through the region. And the shutdown of the production in Qatar has already taken about a third of the world's helium supply offline. Experts say it is no substitute. And the containers that were already filled before the war, many of them are now stranded. That means higher prices for electronics, servers, and the infrastructure that powers a digital economy. Screwed. Clean energy sector, also under threat. As I said, sulfuric acid shipments have been disrupted. That chemical is used to extract copper, one of the most important metals for electronic vehicles, power grids, and renewable energy systems. And then there is aviation. Cathay, a Pacific Airlines, has already announced that it's going to increase fuel surcharges on flights by 105%. Have you tried booking an airfare lately? I had a speaking engagement that I have to get to, and I had to book the airfare, and I was like, whoa, is it even worth going? And you have to because the importance of the event and it's charity and all that stuff. But fuel prices are, tell me in the chat if you bought an airline ticket recently, or if you're going to buy one, go check out what it's going to cost you. You better do it now. So when people hear Strait of Hormuz, it can sound like a distant geopolitical story, like, oh, it doesn't affect me. But what it really means is that you are going to pay a hell of a lot more for groceries, for flights, for electricity, and who knows what else. And so, as we said in that thing, this was the ACL. I showed you what he said. And so, how do we repair it? I don't know. Right now, it seems like the leaders in Washington aren't even close to making a decision here. We have great guests that are coming up to talk about this in just moments. But I don't know what we do. I don't know what the off-ramp is, because Donald Trump actually thinks that he gets to decide when this is over, that he will say it's over, but it's not. He's not the only decision maker here. Israel, we're being told, reportedly, that Israel's like, they're not ready to stop. Donald Trump wants to stop. That's the reports say, even though he's not saying it publicly. But Israel's saying, nope, we're going to keep going. And then also Iran has a say in this too. You can say, we're pulling back, we're done, we're out, so the war is over. You can say that as many times and as much as you want. But that doesn't make it so, especially if Iran says, no, we're coming to get you. So let me just tell you plainly, because something is happening in this country right now. People can feel it, even if they can't quite put their finger on it yet, they can feel it. You turn on the news, the headlines come rushing at you all at once. A shooting. We had that at Old Dominion University today. Andy, it's in there. A police response to a shooter at a synagogue in West Bloomfield, Michigan as well. And then there it is. Temple Israel Synagogue. Shooting leaves gunmen dead. Kids are safe. Oil tankers under attack overseas. Fighting spreading all across the Middle East. And the United States deeper and deeper in a conflict involving Iran, Israel, and Lebanon. And people are asking a question tonight that they may not be saying out loud yet, at least not in open public, but I bet around dinner tables and in quiet conversations or in boardrooms, after they make sure that the sound system or the camera electronic system, is that thing off? The thing is this the beginning of something bigger here? Is this war starting to reach us? Is this retaliation coming? When was the last time you heard about someone connected to ISIS being a terror attack being thwarted for that? It's been since probably the Afghanistan war that we've been hearing about this stuff. And you heard the one that happened in New York City this past weekend. When a nation enters a war, the first thing that spreads is not just missiles or troops. The first thing that spreads is fear. That's part of it. Fear travels faster than any army, faster than any ship in the Persian Gulf, faster than any breaking news alert on your phone, and faster, quite frankly, than any missile, because you're going to hear about the missile and then everyone's going to be fearful of where it's going to hit and who is it going to hit. And that fear will come a lot faster than the missile, if that does, God forbid, happen. And tonight, fear is moving through this country. It's like a current. People don't know what to do because Americans know something that politicians often pretend not to understand, is that war never stays neatly contained. It does not believe in borders. It spills. It spills across borders. It spills into economies. It spills into our politics. And sometimes it spills into our very own streets. So just let me slow down for a second because I want to tell you the truth very carefully here, that gunmen at Old Dominion today opened fire in a classroom connected to an Army ROTC program. A life was taken, others were wounded, and the suspect is dead. That's what they say. They say the suspect had a past conviction related to supporting ISIS years ago. Now, I thought that they were deporting the worst of the worst. Yet, the preschool teacher is being dragged out as she is trying to teach and rear kids. But as of this moment, authorities have not confirmed that the shooting was connected to the current war involving the United States and Iran. But people are wondering when they hear this, and they're seeing all the images on their televisions and on their phones. That matters. Because when the world feels unstable, your mind starts to wonder and twitch every tragedy and twist it into a single story. Sometimes those connections are real, sometimes they're imagined. And if we lose the discipline to tell the difference, then we lose something, I think, much bigger than the news cycle. That's when we lose the truth, which we have lost, sadly, in the past 10 years. And let me just update you on the one that happened in West Bloomfield, Michigan, police responding to a shooter at a synagogue. That situation is still developing, but they think that right now they have it contained. But the shooter is dead. And when people hear those two stories in the same breath, a shooting in Virginia, a synagogue under threat in Michigan, and then the Middle East is on fire, people naturally begin to wonder if the world is unraveling. And that anxiety is real, trust me. I'm going to get to some people who can talk to us about that anxiety, the fear, about injuries, about the violence coming to our shores, the economic anxiety and the economic fears, what's real and what's not. But first, a word from our sponsors. I've been working on my sleep routine lately because when I don't sleep well, you can hear it the next day when I'm doing this show. So I've started paying closer attention to what actually helps. It helps me wind down at night. A lot of people kept telling me about magnesium breakthrough from BioOptimizer, so I finally decided to try it for myself. What makes this one different is most magnesium supplements only contain 1 or 2 forms of magnesium, while magnesium breakthrough contains 7 forms, plus cofactors that help your body actually absorb and use it. For me, the goal is simple: sleep deeper, recover better, wake up feeling clear and ready for the day. And the good news is there's no risk to it. BioOptimizers offers a 365-day money-back guarantee. So you have plenty of time to see how it works for you. So go to biooptimizers.com/Don Lemon and use the code DON15 for 15% off of your order. That's biooptimizers.com/Don Lemon. Tim and I cook a lot at home, and one night recently I ran out of olive oil while we were making dinner, and that's when I realized that, oh my gosh, Don, you're so picky. I've become so picky about the olive oil since we started using Graza. Graza is different because their olive oil is always fresh and never blended, and they even put the harvest date right on the bottle, which most brands don't do. I keep Sizzle in the kitchen for everyday cooking, and that's the one I use when I am sauteing vegetables or roasting something in the oven. Then there's Drizzle, their finishing oil, perfect for salads, grilled fish, or just dipping bread. And they've got Frizzle, their high heat cooking oil for grilling and frying. When friends come over, Those bottles are always right on the counter because they taste incredible. Go to graza.co and use the code LEMON for 20% off of your first order. And thank you so much to our sponsors. So let's bring in our experts, everyone. Jasper Nathaniels here is an independent journalist reporting on the occupied West Bank for the Infinite Jazz Substack. And let me just again reiterate, an independent journalist. And we're glad to have independent journalists here doing the reporting because they're doing such great work. So welcome, Jasper. Cameron Caskey is here. He's a human rights activist who helped organize the National March for Our Lives anti-gun violence movement. And also joining us is Madison Mills, the Axios senior business and tech reporter. Glad to have all of you here. Thank you so much. Jasper, let me start with you because we've been talking about coming to our shores. I want to talk about the fear when you hear these things. Maybe they're not connected, but every time when I hear something like ISIS, I'm like, wait a minute. I haven't really heard that term since, before we pulled out of Afghanistan. It's bringing me back kind of to, the early 2000s and the mid 2000s. So what on earth is going on? Is this the fear is real? I know that you hear from people about it coming here. And what do you think of that?
I think that when the United States is off slaughtering people in the Middle East, then there's going to be people radicalized by it who look for ways to basically strike back at the United States. ISIS is, whether or not this guy was actually talking with anybody who was actually formally with ISIS or was just sort of radicalized by some videos that they saw online. It obviously in no way excuses shooting people or running people over with your car or anything like that. But I mean, we know from the data that, these incidents rise when we are killing people in the Middle East. So it seems pretty straightforward to me. As long as we, bomb a school in Iran, kill 150 plus kids, refuse to apologize for it, brag about abandoning the rules of engagement. I mean, a lot of people are pretty upset by that, and I'm not surprised that people are redirecting that anger towards the United States in violent ways.
Yeah. People who have been, before we get to the economic part of it, people who have been part of what I call terror, and that includes mass shootings, either in schools or theaters or churches, places of worship. Cam, you know that fear all too well. What happens to people, especially those who have been a part of this, when they hear, who have been victims of this, when they see and hear what's going on, and then they hear ISIS here again in America?
I have no intention of downplaying the fear that many Americans are feeling right now. We just saw an attack on a Jewish institution where a lot of people could have gotten killed. But right now, I'm thinking about the fear that the people in the Middle East are experiencing, the people I speak to in the occupied West Bank, who are now the target of much more violent and rampant Jewish settler terror attacks than they have been possibly ever before. They are in this constant state of fear that the next person they see is going to be the person who will kill them. And that's something that I experienced at my high school when I was hiding from the shooter in Parkland, Florida. We didn't know whether or not the next person in the room was going to be the shooter. It could have been the SWAT team. It could have been somebody who was going to mow us all down with an assault rifle. That fear is the only reality that the people in the occupied West Bank and all over the Middle East region know. And right now, under cover of this war, settlers in the West Bank are committing violent pogroms that the world does not have the capacity to focus on. So Americans are afraid. We are afraid of the consequences of our country's actions, but also there are countless innocent people in that region that are facing violence that they've never seen before.
Cam, I think the term that you were looking for when you said fear, for me, having, had situations that I don't really want to talk about here, but there's a certain paranoia. And many people have post-traumatic stress disorder and they don't realize it. I think you're right. I think the people in the Middle East are walking around in fear, but obviously they're paranoid about something happening, any boom, anything that's out of the ordinary for them. It becomes a constant way of life, but it still does not stop the paranoia.
John, can I add one thing?
Just as the fear here in the United States is real. Yeah, go ahead, Jasper.
I just want to add one thing that Jonathan Greenblatt, the head of the Anti-Defamation League, on Twitter the other day, posted about a group that he accused of anti-Semitism and hate. And one of the examples he used to point to this group's anti-Semitism and hate was protesting against this war in Iran. And I just want to say that it's really difficult to actually address what is real hate, what is real, dangerous hate that veers into violence when we have our, who are supposed to be our luminaries, supposed to be people who are guarding us against this sort of violent hate, are literally saying that protesting against a war that is slaughtering innocent people in Iran is a form of hate or anti-Semitism. And so again, this is not to downplay the people who are victims to this, whether they're in Michigan or at Old Dominion University. But I think we should try to get our definition straight here on, what is actually anti-Semitism, what is actually hate, what is actually violence, and what is righteous rage and outrage at, the actions of the United States and Israel.
Mm-hmm. I just want to put this up for you so you can see it, guys, because this is what we're talking about right now. This is a press conference that's happening at the FBI at Old Dominion University. They're saying the shooting was an act of terrorism. Let me just listen for one moment, and then we're going to get back. Stand by.
No, I don't have anything at this time. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Oh, perfect time to get to the press conference. They're done. Okay. So now they're saying that this is obviously for sure an act of terrorism, but the update, I was kind of looking at it. I have a feed up here. Basically, the update is that they are working on it. They're trying to figure it out. But again, this is the paranoia and the fear that we have been discussing. So let's talk about this a little bit more with Madison Mills. Madison, I'm not sure if you heard when I was discussing just how many different products, it's not just oil, resources come through the Strait of Hormuz, and that's not happening. And it's not only crippling, it not only has the potential to cripple the U.S. economy, but the global economy as well. This is much worse than people think.
Yeah, I mean, we were just starting to get our hands around the inflation problem that is plaguing so many consumers in the United States. And now we have a global supply shock to energy prices that risks raising prices, like you said, Don, really across the board. This is something that impacts every single industry. Energy is what is underpinning so many of the different sectors of our economy. When you think about airlines, they have to buy jet fuel, those prices are going up. So air tickets are going up, food, fertilizer, medicines, all of these different things are going to be impacted by this energy shock. And something else that I've been covering in my time at Axios too is just the affordability crisis in the United States. And the polling numbers make it very clear that American consumers are struggling with prices right now. Oil prices being low was one of the only factors in the American economy that the Trump administration had been polling well on. And now we see this huge hit to energy prices. And every single week that the war goes on, we could see gas prices rising anywhere from 25 to 45 more cents. And like you were saying, that flows into so many other parts of the economy at a time when people were already struggling. And there was already a feeling that prices were very high following the supply chain shock of the pandemic that we were still trying to kind of course correct from.
So, Madison, we've been checking the gas prices every day. A couple of days ago, it was $3.48. Was the average. Yesterday, I think it was $3.58. Today, it is almost $3.60. It's just up, 2 cents, but still, that's enough. And so if this continues and you see those gas prices go up and up and up, that means a lot of people won't be able to afford to keep their businesses open. We've been hearing business owners say that. A lot of families won't be able to travel. And a lot of people, they're going to struggle just trying to pay the gas prices to get to and from work.
And another part of it too, Dawn, is the uncertainty around that. We've had this kind of back and forth from the administration about when there might be an end to this war. But for the economy to really kind of move on from a price shock perspective on gas prices, there needs to be clarity about what that end actually looks like. It's not something that can kind of just overnight get fixed. Gas prices aren't just going to plummet overnight. And then at the same time, because of these concerns about about supply. You have the IEA this morning issuing its biggest release of oil in history. Our strategic petroleum reserves were not restocked while gas prices were low, so we don't have a ton to tap into. So there aren't a lot of options for keeping these prices low. And unless there's like a very, very clear end in sight, it's difficult for the sources that I talk to who are in energy markets to see gas prices coming down anytime soon.
Jasper, I want to ask you about the story that we're getting about the soldiers who are accused of IDF, and I think they've been convicted of, but the Netanyahu is calling them heroes, heroic warriors. Have you seen this story?
I didn't see that Netanyahu called them heroes. I saw that the charges were dropped today. That's wow. Well, I mean, what we're talking about here, just so everybody knows, is a military prison that houses mostly prisoners from Gaza, in some cases from the West Bank too. A lot of them are held without charges, so they've not actually been formally charged or accused of anything. They're held under something called administrative detention, which allows Israel to just say that there is secret evidence that they can't share and to keep people in prison for that. A video came out last year that clearly showed a group of Israeli soldiers raping a Palestinian prisoner. The prisoner suffered severe internal injuries that are too graphic to even detail here. So there's no question that this happened. After it happened, and there were arrests made, there was actually a riot where Israeli Knesset members and ministers went to the prison and protested and rioted the fact that these people had been arrested. Itamar Ben-Gvir, who is the national security minister of Israel, said, anything, we can do anything we want. Anything is allowed to be done to these terrorists. I mean, so this is really like, it is just about policy that they are allowed to abuse, and in this case, sexually assault and even rape prisoners. There's been a huge movement in support of these guards who were accused of doing this. They've become TV stars, actually. In fairness, there are certainly some people in Israel who do not support them, but they have widespread support, and they frequently go on television, and they've sort of become these media celebrities. And it was just a matter of time until charges were dropped against them, because as hopefully people know, it is exceptionally rare for any Israeli soldier or settler to actually be prosecuted for a crime or to actually be sentenced to any prison time. They can do no wrong. The Israeli military extremely rarely does it actually admit any mistakes, and for the most part, it justifies all of its brutality. So this is actually not surprising to people who have paid close attention that these 4 guards who sexually assaulted or raped a Palestinian prisoner who've been treated like heroes are now going to walk free.
Yeah. Do you know how to pronounce the name of the facility? Is it said Taiman?
Yeah, close
Tiananmen?
enough. Close enough.
Close enough. Okay. So listen, hang on, Cam. I just want to report the story because I do want you to respond because you're Jewish, right? And I just want you to respond to this. Okay.
I'm Jewish too.
But listen, on camera, yes, I know. I know. On camera, Israeli soldiers savagely gang raped Palestinian detainees at the infamous Taiman prison camp. After the scandal broke, instead of generating outrage and disgust in Israel, it generated a mass protest in support of the IDF's right to rape Palestinian soldiers. Today, the Israel military closed the investigation.
Palestinian hostages, Don.
Palestinian hostages, excuse me. Today, let me make this a little bigger because my eyes aren't what they used to be. Today, the Israel military closed the investigation against the confessed soldier rapists. And then what Netanyahu said basically is that they should be going after others rather than going after their, what did they say, heroic leaders. Welcome to the decision saying the state of Israel must pursue its enemies, not its heroic fighters. Cam Caskey.
Let's take a moment to be real here. This case is a great example. The Israeli occupying forces are constantly committing the crimes that Israel accuses the Hamas resistance of committing. They systematically rape Palestinians. Israel places its military infrastructure and command centers in crowded civilian population zones, which is an excuse that they use to bomb schools and hospitals in Iran, Lebanon, Gaza, and more. They use Palestinians as human shields, and the list of these examples goes on and on. And when the pro-Israel community, which I was vocally a part of not long ago, denies and or supports the genocide in Gaza and makes excuses for religious Israeli terrorism in the occupied West Bank, terrorism that's backed by the Israeli government, we in the West are sending a clear message to Palestinians, which is that you just have to sit back and take it. Our message to Israel should be, if you don't want violent resistance against oppression, perhaps stop violently oppressing an entire people.
I cannot actually. Can I believe this happened? Yeah, but listen, this is horrific. But remember, we had Abu Ghraib here in the United States, and we have people here who are doing awful things to American citizens on the streets of America, pulling them off of.
People went to prison for Abu Ghraib.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, those people were immediately. Well, I don't know about immediate, but I mean, people did prison time, and they are sort of, by most people, are considered to be, the bad guys, villains. So that I think is worth noting. Again, Itamar Ben-Gvir, who oversees the prison system, openly brags about torturing and starving prisoners. He makes jokes about it. I mean, I have met more Palestinians than I can remember who have spent time in prison, who have detailed just horrific torture and abuse and starvation that they have suffered at the hands of Israel. So, yeah, I mean, the point is that not only is it policy, but it is actively rewarded by the Israeli state. There's not even a pretense of, enforcing laws against these people.
Cam, how do people feel, or Jasper, how do people feel about Netanyahu in Israel and here in the States?
Jasper,
how do Israelis?
In Israel, I mean, in Israel, he's a polarizing figure, I would say. There's an election coming up later this year, so we'll see for sure. But in Israel, the populace puts one political issue above every other by 100-fold, which is what they consider security. And Netanyahu frames everything that he does in the name of security. Going after Lebanon, going after Iran, going after Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. It's all in the name of security. He keeps the population petrified, basically. They breathlessly still cover the atrocities of October 7th, both the real ones and also the ones that they have fabricated. And so, he's able to maintain support by, in effect, holding people hostage to the fear that they have of the countries that are around them. So I think a lot of people, I mean, it's pretty much unanimously, acknowledged that he's deeply corrupt. And everything he does, or a lot of what he does, is in his own self-interest. But he does have a lot of support because people think that he is keeping them safe, which is ironic given that, October 7th happened under his watch.
I want to bring something in just to give you, and we will, Madison, talk about the economy, but we have some breaking news that's just in that I want you guys to respond to, and that is that 6 French soldiers were wounded in a drone attack on a base in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. And so this has now become a regional war. Again, people think it's just Iran and Israel going back and forth, but look, this is a regional war, and I think this can turn into a quagmire if it hasn't already.
And Don, Trump reportedly, I think this was reported in Axios. Maybe you know, Madison. I know it's not your beat, but Trump reportedly was trying to activate Kurdish militias in Iraq to go into Iran to fight the war for them. So it's sort of unclear if that has actually happened, but they have been recruited. So it's not surprising that if the Kurdistan regions of Iraq or other countries around there are going to be attacked too. I mean, this as many have noted, is just going to become a total quagmire that drags everybody into it.
Yeah. So let's get back. But first, I want to talk more about the economic fallout, and then what others are saying about it, like Joe Rogan, who's saying, he should have known that before.
What is Joe Rogan saying?
That there's instability everywhere. Here he is.
It's just nothing seems stable everywhere. Everywhere in the world seems fucked right now. Like this is in all of my years, this seems the most unstable globally.
We haven't even gotten into Cuba yet. Just wait.
Yeah. We'll talk more about that. First, a word from our sponsors. Running this show has really opened my eyes to how much goes into running a business. Merch, orders, shipping, inventory. That's a lot happening behind the scenes. And that's where Shopify comes in. Shopify powers millions of businesses around the world and about 10% of all e-commerce in the United States. And we actually use Shopify ourselves for the Don Lemon Show merchandise. So I've seen firsthand how simple it makes things. You can build a professional online store, manage inventory, run email and social campaigns, and even use AI tools to help write product descriptions or improve your product photos. Shopify basically handles the complicated parts so you can focus on building your brand and connecting with your audience. So start your business today for $1 a month at shopify.com/lemon. That's shopify.com/lemon. Now, I've always believed something simple about this country. That's equality under the law. It only works when the government stays neutral about religion. The First Amendment wasn't written to protect one religion. It was written to protect everyone's freedom of belief, including the freedom not to believe. But right now, that principle is under pressure from people who believe their religious views should shape public policy for everyone else. And that's why organizations like the Freedom from Religion Foundation matter. FFRF works to protect constitutional separation of church and state. They defend students, families, communities when religion is pushed into public schools, government institutions, and public life where it doesn't belong. Their mission is simple: protect religious freedom by keeping government neutral. If you believe freedom means freedom for everyone, you can help support their work. Visit ffrf.us/Don or text Don to 511-511. That's ffrf.us/Don or text Don to 511-511. Text fees may apply. Thanks to our sponsors.
It's just nothing seems stable everywhere. Everywhere in the world seems fucked right now. Like this is in all of my years, this seems the most unstable globally.
And I saw some folks in the chat saying, yeah, and you helped promote it, and you helped to put the person in office who is actually responsible for this. So now back to the group. Madison, you heard what Joe Rogan says. Everything feels unstable anyway. We can talk about who's responsible for that later. But the question is, this has global ramifications. But I want to be myopic for a bit and talk about America and Americans here. What can they expect with this war in Iran? Because at first they said they thought it was going to be a little bit of time, as Donald Trump says, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, they said. But what happens if it lasts 6 weeks or 6 months? What does that do to Americans' wallet?
Yeah, so to literally bring it closer to home here, over the last 2 weeks, we've already seen mortgage rates up for the past and that's something that energy prices impact, right? We talked about how it impacts everything from airlines to healthcare costs. This AI movement that I'm covering a lot in my AI coverage at Axios really relies on energy as well. So AI companies could be raising costs in terms of their model tokens. So it really impacts everything. Every single week that we continue to see this war go on, we're expecting to see gas prices continue to go up. And again, we've already seen that hitting people at their mortgage rates. And so that could be depressing the housing market that we know that the Trump administration is very focused on. We've seen Trump shifting course on things like tariffs when the 10-year yield gets too high. Now we're already seeing that taking place again. So whether or not that is enough to change the administration's stance on the war is a different topic, but it's certainly going to continue to weigh on the economy. And energy prices were one part of the economy that the administration sort of didn't have to worry about over the last year and a half. And now it's becoming one of its biggest problems as we head even closer into the midterm elections next year.
Oh, for people wondering, what is going on and why are we so unstable and why is everything so unorthodox? This is out from the White House's official site. Okay. Have you guys seen this Wii Sports Iran propaganda video that they put online, that they posted online? If you haven't, Here it is. Mm-hmm. So it starts, it's like what? this is from the White House. What do people do with this? Just real quickly, Madison, when they're worried about their 401ks, they're worried about gas prices, they're worried about the cost of medicine, the cost of healthcare right now. And then you've got the official White House turning this into a video game.
Well, this is the thing, Don. This is something that we've covered a lot coming out of the State of the Unions. When the administration knows it's facing an affordability crisis, we've seen the president really leaning into jargon about how successful they've been on the economy. But there's a big disconnect between what the administration is saying they've done and how consumers tell us they're feeling in the reporting, in things like the consumer sentiment index that the University of Michigan does time and time again in these surveys. We continue to see that Americans are not feeling great about the economy. And also in polling surveying voters, we see that their approval ratings of the administration's handling of the economy continues to go down. So even while the administration keeps saying that they've done so well at tackling inflation, for example, or tackling home prices, that's clearly not showing up in the data when you look at how consumers have responded. And that's something also that the Federal Reserve is certainly going to be focusing on. They have a meeting next week. We know that the Trump administration certainly wants low interest rates, but when you have inflation, it's very difficult to keep interest rates low. So it's going to be an interesting meeting to cover because we are seeing inflation literally being flamed right now. And so it's going to be difficult for them to decide how they're going to handle this because we don't know what's going to happen with the war going forward.
Yeah, I'm going to bring this up and I want everybody to respond to this. And Madison, specifically, I want to talk to you about the use of AI in this war, because if you look at the story that happened to this girls' school, and it being confirmed that it was Americans who are responsible, at least from the reporting, responsible for killing 175 people, most of them elementary school children, girls. And the reporting, at least the one that I have here from Reuters, it says that this may have been a mistake because of artificial intelligence, that they used artificial intelligence in order to show them where the possible targets were. And the artificial intelligence was wrong. It had not been updated. And they believe that that may be responsible for the deaths of these people. So the administration is using AI, but AI isn't always accurate. They should be using, intelligence from people, or at least accurate intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, Axios has been all over this story when it comes to Anthropic, which is one of the major AI labs that it's been widely reported that they may have been utilizing Anthropic's technology in this specific strike. Anthropic has not commented on that, and they are also in the middle of their own massive tension.
Lawsuit, right? Isn't there a lawsuit? Didn't they sue the administration or something like that? I thought Anthropic
They're
sued the
suing
administration.
because of the supply chain risk designation. Yes. So
Yeah.
they lost a contract with the Pentagon because they didn't want to change their red lines on their AI being used for mass surveillance and the use of autonomous weapons and the creation of autonomous weapons. And then after they lost that contract, the Pentagon slapped a supply chain risk designation on them, which is typically reserved for Chinese foreign adversaries. It's never in modern history been used or applied to an American company. So Anthropic is suing them, saying that they're infringing on their First Amendment rights by putting that supply chain risk designation on them. Meantime, the Pentagon is contending that if they are paying for a product, they should be allowed to have operational control over that product. So that's what that back and forth is looking like right now. And I've been talking to a lot of tech employees over the last week on background just about their concerns and their experiences. A lot of these AI scientists didn't go into this field thinking that the work that they're doing was going to be used in something like this going forward. So they're scared about what their future could look like and what the work that they're doing right now could mean for our future as well.
Cam Caskey, I want to play this for you. You'll be the first to respond out of this. This is Joe Rogan talking about the confirmation that it's the U.S. That's responsible for that school shooting.
Sorry, Don, I don't have that.
At the girls' school. Oh, you don't have it? Oh, okay. Well, anyway, Joe Rogan is saying is actually, I guess, surprised by it. If you can find it, it's in our notes. I would love to be able to play it. But the fact that we have 175 supposedly, I'm sorry, it's not Joe Rogan, it's Tucker Carlson. My bad.
I have
My
that
bad.
one.
Go ahead, Andy. Yeah.
Israeli priorities may have informed our tragic decision to bomb, and it was revealed today it was, in fact, tragically, the U.S. military, by mistake, bombing a girls' school attached to an Iranian naval base where the daughters of naval officers went to school, and over 100 of them were killed. Well, that's just terrible, okay? America doesn't do stuff like that, and actually doesn't. And the times that we have done it, we've apologized and prosecuted the people who did it. When civilians are killed in large numbers and it becomes public, the United States military, going back hundreds of years, has felt a moral obligation, being a Western, not an Eastern country, to apologize for the death of innocents and punish the people responsible. It's happened a lot. Because we don't do things like that. Israel does do things like that. Israel sets off pagers in the pockets of people they can't identify. They're just out there. They're going to go off and they'll kill some terrorists and maybe some others, which they did. And that's the price they're willing to pay. That's not a price that we're willing to pay because we're not Israel. So you have to wonder, like, how did this happen? So the U.S. government is saying this was a tragedy. It was a mistake. Totally believable. It was a case of bad targeting. Where'd the targeting come from? That's the question. Where do we get those targeting numbers?
Yeah. So basically, he's saying that the United States should take responsibility. Now, look, for the most part, I think we would like to believe that there are some things that the United States does, but in general, he's right. People usually at least pay some sort of price for a mistake like this, Cam. So, and pardon me, I said Joe Rogan earlier, same difference. So Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson both promoted Donald Trump for this election. But go on. What's your response to that, Cameron?
Well, I definitely believe Tucker is outraged because that is the reddest person I've seen in my entire life. I mean, that is beet colored skin he's got right there. Look at that. But listen, Tucker is somebody who engages in a lot of harmful rhetoric. He's also somebody who speaks a lot of painful truths that have gotten him in trouble with the MAGA baits. But I think he's representative of a larger part of the Republican Party than people say, because MAGA as a whole seems to be very supportive of the war in Iran. But Donald Trump didn't just win because of the MAGA sycophant base. He won because he was able to build a coalition around it. So yes, the MAGA fanatics did power Donald Trump's presidency, but a lot of other voters who are not necessarily like that were also what pushed him through. So I think we're seeing a lot of divides in the Republican Party about this. And I think that Israel is dealing a massive blow to the strength the Republican Party had in their coalition, because Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, who's a virulent anti-Semite, Nick Fuentes, who's a virulent bigot in pretty much every way imaginable, they are all splitting from Donald Trump and the MAGA coalition on not only Israel, but especially this war in Iran. So I think that Tucker is representative of a very large group of Republican people who voted for Donald Trump for reasons that I think are ridiculous, but certainly not the spreading of war that is completely pulling apart the world order. And we ought to pay attention because there is a very, very large divide between the people at the top of the Republican Party and the voters that they're going to need to stand any chance in the midterms and in 2028.
Jasper, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah.
Or
Well,
is it Tucker?
Yeah, I mean, I take issue with Tucker saying it's a mistake because, when you have Pete Hegseth coming out and saying we're not doing stupid rules of engagement anymore, and then the next day or days later we bomb a school and it turns out it was
Hey, Jasper,
targeting-
can I play this from Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, because I think this is will help bolster what you're about to say. Here it is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just to clarify for your benefit, Senator Gillibrand, you did not mean to say that we had targeted a school.
That a missile hit a school.
No, but it's the word targeting.
Yes,
that,
of course.
That you did not mean.
How we chose a target that turned out to be a school, albeit next to a appropriate target of a naval base. But the fact that it is chosen as a target, I'd like to know, and I hope that we can have an open hearing on this, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Ernst.
I'm really glad you played that, because Kristen Gillibrand is a perfect example of a hypocrite who is part of the reason we're here today. Kristen Gillibrand has been a relentless, unconditional supporter of military aid to Israel. She has defended their war crimes for years and years and years now. She takes a lot of money from AIPAC, as people probably know. Just in the last couple of days, sorry, my dog is.
Don't worry, we love dogs on the show.
Your dog loves Kirsten Gillibrand.
She's just very loud.
Your dog is agreeing with you about Kirsten.
Just in the last couple of days, a letter went out that Senator Chris Van Hollen from Maryland wrote that demanded a U.S. investigation into the murder of an American teenager in the West Bank. He was murdered by settlers a couple of weeks ago. Kirsten Gillibrand didn't sign the letter, just completely inexplicably. Neither did Chuck Schumer, neither did John Fetterman, who represents Pennsylvania, where the kid is from. There was actually a report last year. There was a great story in the New Yorker about it, how basically military lawyers are studying what Israel is doing in Gaza and the sort of international response to it to understand what it says about the changing rules of engagement. And the basic finding was, if the aggressor just says it was an accident, if they say that there was not intent to harm innocent people, to kill, to bomb a hospital or a school or whatever, then that's basically enough. It doesn't actually matter what they did. It's what they claim their intent was. And so, it really was Gaza, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions, that sort of broke the world order, broke the rules-based order that, at least pretended to have some rules of engagement around war, some protections for civilians. And, now we're seeing what comes from that. You've got Pete Hegseth out here saying the quiet part out loud, basically. But, that was happening maybe to a lesser degree, but on some level it was happening under the Biden administration and the certainly the Blinken State Department as well. And, Kirsten Gillibrand, I think, is somebody who looks at those children who were killed in Iran, and whatever she says, I just don't think that she sees the same value in their lives as she does children in the United States or Israel. I mean, if she did, then we'd have been hearing a lot more from her in the last couple of years about the tens of thousands of children who Israel has killed in Gaza, who she has supported.
Cameron, Madison, thank you. Thank you very much, Jasper. I've got some words for you, Cam Caskey. There are people in the chat who are asking, are you the one who was looking for love with the Don Lemon Show sweatshirt on?
I posted a selfie wearing my Lemon Live hoodie saying that I'm single and I'm looking for lemon heads only. And a lot of tremendous lemon heads have reached out. I am currently taking a look at resumes, or are we pulling it? Yeah, there you go. That selfie was taken right here. And I think that in order to filter out all the BS that you're seeing in the dating market, especially with Gen Z, which has just completely lost its mind, I'm going to do a lemon heads only rule and see where that gets me.
You might be successful there. I mean, Jasper, we're going to send some of our doggy neckwear for your dog. Is it a big dog or a little dog? He sounds huge.
Dorothy, come here. She's a big dog, but I've been trying to get her to just come here. Let me just.
Barkley Boomer. My dog is. Hey.
She's been just sitting there staring at me this entire time. And actually, every time you talk, she thinks that you're like my girlfriend or something. So
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I locked my dog in the other room, so I can't.
I think we heard the squeaky toy, to be honest.
For sure.
Oh, no. Same here. My dogs had a squeaky toy. I think are they out for a walk?
Okay, it was one of you two.
Are they? Yeah, they're out for a walk.
It was mine or Don's squeaky toy.
Yeah. It was my dog and his squeaky toy. After dinner, he loves his squeaky toy, and when he comes back for a walk. By the way, I got him this crazy one. I don't know if you've seen the one. I'm all about the TikTok shop. This one that sings songs, and if he barks at it or they bark at it, the thing will bark back. I don't know where it is. Or it plays music and it jumps up and down. One dog is totally afraid of it and the other one's obsessed with it. But anyways, we love our dogs here. Don't lock your dog. And we have you back, Madison, because you were great. But don't lock your dog in the room. Hey, look, that's real. People have dogs, and dogs are our family. So Thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Madison Mills, Axios senior business and tech reporter. Jasper Nathaniel is an independent journalist reporting on the occupied West Bank for the Infinite Jazz Substack. And Cameron Kasky is a human rights activist who helped organize the National March for Our Lives anti-gun violence movement. I think you should support. It's been a long day, guys. I've been sitting in front of this camera all day. I think you should support all of these people and go and follow them. But Jasper, a special shout out to you because, you know, independent journalism is very close to my heart, and we need to protect independent journalists right now. So thank you all. I'll see you soon. Keep up the great work. Okay, so let's see. Maybe Cameron will get a date. Let's say this is going to be a dating show. If you want to know anything about the Don Lemon Show, all you have to do is go to donlemon.com. And as I tell you every single time, at the top of the page there, you can find out where we're going to be. DL and DL, anything goes. We're going around the country, and we're starting at the top. And Andy, is it there? Andy? Yeah, we're starting in Raleigh, North Carolina on 4/3. We've been doing it it'll be a year in June, I think, but mostly playing New York and Atlanta, Chicago, Philadelphia. Raleigh, North Carolina, 4/3, April 3rd. Cleveland, Ohio, April 4th. Boston, Massachusetts, April 17th. And Tysons, Virginia, April 18th. So go get your tickets before they sell out, okay? So look, wow. That was a very informative show. We had very informative shows today. Also, if you go to donlemon.com, everyone's been asking about this. I got the background matching it today. You guys ever notice that I try to match the background with whatever Lemon merch I'm wearing? I don't know if you guys have caught on to that. And I hope you enjoyed our special show for the Twitch today, where it's just a lot of questions and answers. And you know what? We talked a lot about grief, which was surprising. Not surprising that people talk about it, but in that sort of environment on this platform, to have this conversation about grief and to have it happen organically. We didn't say we're going to talk about grief, but to have that happen, I thought it was pretty amazing. Our merch store is also on donlemon.com, and we mean it when we say protect independent journalists. We have some merch there. Every single penny of it goes to the Committee to Protect Journalists, and it says, "We will not be silenced. We stand with independent journalists, the Don Lemon Show." So go and check that out. The stickers, t-shirts, long sleeve, short sleeve. I think there's like a tee. So a muscle shirt. And so go check it out and help to support the Committee to Protect Journalists. And also get this. I like this one. I like this blue one and the blue one and this one. So be informed without being inundated until I see you back here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Here's what I want you to do. Have a great evening and turn the TV off. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.